End of Alvarez. With the Alvarez arc currently going in the direction that we see it going, I can't help but feel as if we're nearing this arc's resolution, and then in due time, many of the ongoing questions that we asked throughout the entirety of this arc will finally be answered. But the question is, how will we be led to the end of this arc, and what will happen within the final stages of this arc? At this current point in time within the story of Fairy Tail, we're essentially wrapping up the long and drawn out fight between Urza and her mother, Eileen, and Wendy, who actually joined in the mix to protect Urza. So with our current placement within the story in mind, in my personal opinion, we still do have a decently large distance to travel to reach the ending of this arc. So for starters, it's kind of obvious Eileen will be beaten by Urza. At this current point in time, Eileen is way too weak for Urza not to completely wipe her out of this arc. Basically, at this point, it's a given fact that Urza will come out on top with this fight against her mother. Moving on from that, we need to somehow resolve the whole thing with Natsu and e.n.d. At this current point in time, Natsu is actually finding out about his past. A little under even 10 chapters ago, we actually found out about Natsu's parents, something that I personally wanted to know from literally day one of Fairy Tail. But in the grand scheme of things, I still do believe the situation with Natsu will actually take up a good majority of the chapters following the ending of Alvarez. The whole meshing of the demon and dragon seed and the possibility of Natsu dying actually makes up a large part of the story at this current point in time within Fairy Tail. Now, to be completely honest, I don't exactly believe that Natsu will die from the demon and dragon seed meshing. However, I do believe that the seeds will mesh in the grand scheme of things. I'm not exactly too sure how Natsu could be saved from this impending death. However, if the seeds do mesh, I think that we could see the return of e.n.d. Just over 10 chapters ago, the largely anticipated e.n.d. action was actually put to a halt by Urza, and to say the very least, I was really drawn into the storyline with e.n.d. in it, and it was slightly disappointing for me. However, if the demon and dragon seed actually mesh, we could see e.n.d. possibly take an entirely different form than Zeref intended for him to have when he made him. Maybe a full-on demon form with like a dragon form kind of meshed together. Who really knows? However, when it does come down to it, I highly doubt that Natsu will actually die from this, and I believe that we could actually see Natsu somehow take control of this form and e.n.d. as a whole, seeing as we already know that he doesn't currently have control over this immense power. However, outside forces such as Urza's tears do have the ability to lend Natsu control over it temporarily. During this as well, we could possibly see the final showdown between Gray and e.n.d., a fight that in no way whatsoever is finished, and again, in this instance, I'm not expecting a death, as a death is really far and few between with an Alvarez so far, and the only death that we've seen that's kind of stayed like a death is Makarov. However, it would be really interesting to see a fight between Gray and e.n.d. once again to clear up that passion and whatnot, and I feel as if, in a way, it's completely unavoidable. And maybe Gray could actually contribute to Natsu actually gaining the ability to control the immense power that is e.n.d. Who really knows? We do know, however, that they both share a brotherly bond, much like Natsu shares an elder sister and younger brother bond with Urza, and maybe if he sees the power of e.n.d. cause harm towards Gray, much like Urza, that could lead to the suppression or even the full control that he would have over e.n.d. The next thing we need to resolve is the whole thing with the Spriggan 12 and Zeref. Now, for the most part, the Spriggan 12 have been complete and utter fodder. No cutting it short. They are fodder. One shot after one shot. Complete and utter annihilation of the group of characters that were anticipated to be this whole nother level than any other villain we've seen. So in the grand scheme of things, when it does come down to it, we need a resolution to this before Alvarez ends. One of the many ways I could actually see this being resolved is with the dissolution of the Spriggan 12. Now, it's a common theory that Eileen was either A, the dragon that destroyed Zeref's village and killed off the Dragneels, or B, she was affiliated with the dragon that did so. In the instance that Zeref actually found out that his family was killed by one of his close acquaintances within the war, or possibly was just, one of his close acquaintances was affiliated with the dragon that killed his family, that could definitely lead to some mayhem within the unity of the Spriggan 12, I'm not gonna lie. There are many other ways that I've thought of, as I said before, but I feel as if that is the one true way that I'd like to see the Spriggan 12 thing solved, and a lot of people expect the death of Zeref to come out of this arc as well, but with the whole double standard with Natsu's death actually taking place as well in that instance, I don't see it to be likely. So I actually do believe that Zeref could possibly become somewhat of an acquaintance of Fairy Tail by the end of the war. As for how that could happen, well, that kind of allows me to segue into my final thing that I want to see as a resolution for by the end of this arc, and that is Acnologia. We haven't seen or heard anything of him since Universe 1. However, when it does come down to it, Acnologia must be dealt with, and I feel as if in a way, he is the true enemy and the true main antagonist of this arc. So I believe that's possible that Zeref could actually join forces with with Fairy Tail to beat Acnologia if he is to make his reappearance, which as well could allow for Zeref to actually in a way become acquainted with Fairy Tail and resolve the whole clusterfuck that is the Alvarez War. But in the case that Acnologia doesn't make an appearance again, I actually do believe that we could actually see Alvarez end without Acnologia's return, and that the following arc could actually be centered entirely around Acnologia. Nevertheless, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. How do you guys think that Alvarez will be wrapped up, and do you guys have anything else that you want to happen that I maybe have just missed or didn't mention within this video? Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Peace.